One sunny morning in the Smurf village, Jokey Smurf had a mischievous idea. He thought it would be hilarious to prank all his Smurf friends with exploding gift boxes once more, despite Papa Smurf's clear warning against his little explosions. Jokey chuckled to himself, imagining the surprise on their faces. However, unlike Jokey, the other Smurfs were not in the mood for his antics. They were growing weary of always being on the lookout for his jokes and surprises. Handy Smurf, whose work was often disrupted due to these pranks, muttered, "I wish Jokey would find a new hobby." Papa Smurf, noticing the grumpy atmosphere, decided it was time for a heart-to-heart with Jokey. Papa Smurf called Jokey to his mushroom-shaped house and said gently, "Jokey, your laughter is important to us, but it's essential to think about how your jokes affect others." Jokey pouted, feeling a bit misunderstood. "But Papa Smurf, isn't laughter the best medicine?" Jokey asked. "Yes, Jokey," Papa Smurf agreed, "but laughter shouldn't come at the expense of others being hurt or upset. Perhaps you can come up with fun surprises that everyone can enjoy." This made Jokey think. He wandered through the village, pondering new ways to surprise his friends without upsetting them. Soon, he came up with an idea to host a Smurftastic talent show. Jokey excitedly gathered everyone around and announced, "How about we have a talent show where each Smurf can showcase their unique talents? No tricks, just fun." The Smurfs were delighted. Hefty Smurf showed off his strength, Brainy recited poetry, and Clumsy Smurf, well, stumbled into a funny dance, making everyone laugh good-heartedly. At the end, Jokey even performed a stand-up comedy act with lots of silly jokes that had everyone chuckling without any exploding boxes in sight. From that day on, the Smurfs enjoyed Jokey's humor in brand new ways, and Jokey learned that making others smile was more precious when everyone was in on the fun. The village rang with laughter, and Jokey Smurf had truly found the joy in making others happy. Once upon a time, in the colorful and lively Smurf village, Brainy Smurf found himself infuriated by one of Jokey's pranks. "Enough with your silly tricks, Jokey," Brainy shouted, waving his arms in frustration. Just as the air filled with Brainy's words, Clumsy Smurf, with his usual cheerful yet haphazard nature, tripped over a stone, causing a large splash of bright blue paint to spill all over the ground. The vivid blue paint spread like a sea, splattering the nearby Smurfs and covering the surrounding flowers. Painter Smurf, covered in paint from head to toe, glared at Handy Smurf. "Look what you've done, Handy. Now my masterpiece is ruined." Painter's voice rose in anger, his dreams of a beautiful painting now smudged on the grass. But Handy Smurf wasn't one to accept blame lightly. "It wasn't my fault. Ask Grouchy." Handy snapped back, gesturing toward Grouchy Smurf, who was busy frowning at everything and everyone. Grouchy crossed his arms defiantly. "I hate being blamed. Just leave me out of it." Before long, the peaceful Smurf village morphed into a cacophony of arguments and raised voices. Everyone seemed caught in an endless cycle of blaming one another, the initial paint spill forgotten as tensions rose. Amidst the chaos, Papa Smurf returned, his basket laden with freshly picked herbs. His eyes widened at the disorder, the bickering Smurfs and the blue-stained grass. "What in Smurf's name is going on here?" Papa Smurf exclaimed, raising his voice to capture their attention. The Smurfs suddenly froze, their eyes darting between Papa Smurf and each other. The chaos subsided, their anger replaced by embarrassment and regret. "Brainy, Jokey, Clumsy, everyone," Papa Smurf started, "let's take a deep breath and solve this together. We are a family and should act like one. Let's clean up, and then maybe Jokey's new trick will amuse us all, not frustrate us." With Papa Smurf's words, the Smurfs' faces softened, realizing they truly cared for one another. And so, with brushes and laughter, they cleaned up the paint and the mess, restoring harmony to their beloved Smurf village. Papa Smurf stood in the center of the village, his face calm but stern as he addressed his fellow Smurfs. "This foolishness is getting out of hand," he declared, holding up a hand to quiet the chattering crowd. "Your silly fights are making the village unsafe. Jokey, stop with exploding boxes. And the rest of you, calm down." Jokey Smurf, known for his prankster antics, chuckled sheepishly. "But Papa Smurf, it's all in good fun," he exclaimed, trying to lighten the mood. Yet his grin faded as Papa Smurf's gaze remained unwavering. Hefty Smurf, ever the strong and brave, nodded solemnly. "Papa Smurf is right," he agreed. "We all need to act with a bit more responsibility." Smurfette looked around at her fellow Smurfs, worried about the tension filling the air. "We promise to behave," she said gently, "but trouble is still brewing." Nearby, Brainy Smurf adjusted his glasses and piped up. "If we stop to think before acting, we won't find ourselves in such chaos," he suggested, always the logical voice among them. The Smurfs each murmured their agreements, feeling the weight of Papa Smurf's words sink in. Despite the agreement, however, unseen storms of mischief were slowly forming. Gargamel, the villainous wizard who constantly sought to capture the Smurfs, was lurking on the forest's edge. He had overheard their promises and saw this as a perfect moment to strike. Back in the village, Greedy Smurf was busy baking another batch of delicious Smurfberry muffins, unaware of Gargamel's lurking presence. But Harmony Smurf had an idea. "How about a concert to bring us all together?" he suggested, eager to engage everyone in peaceful melody. Excitement buzzed through the group at the thought of music filling the air. "Maybe we just need a break from all this seriousness," Lazy Smurf yawned, already dreaming of afternoon naps. As the sun began to set, Papa Smurf watched his little friends begin preparations for Harmony's concert, hopeful that this time, their promise would hold strong against whatever challenges lay ahead. The Smurfs continued bustling around the village, ready to turn discord into delightful harmony, not knowing that Gargamel's plots loomed close by. Papa Smurf smiled, determined to keep his village safe and serene. One bright sunny day in the enchanted Smurf village, the Smurfs were busily gathering berries for their upcoming feast. Gargamel, the wicked wizard who always plotted to catch the Smurfs, watched them from the edge of the magical forest. He noticed the Smurfs were distracted and thought to himself, "Perfect, they're distracted," as he rubbed his hands together with a sly grin. Gargamel quickly set off to the nearby river, a favorite spot for Smurf activities, to hatch his devious plan. He laid a sneaky trap among the bushes, skillfully covering it with leaves and sticks so it blended in perfectly with the surroundings. Meanwhile, Clumsy Smurf hummed happily as he wandered toward the river, holding his berry basket, which was already overflowing with delicious fruits. As he merrily picked more berries, he failed to see Gargamel's trap beside him. Yikes! Clumsy shrieked as he tumbled into the clever pit, his basket flying into the air. The rest of the Smurfs gasped as they heard his cry and came rushing to his aid. Papa Smurf was the first to reach the riverbank. "Oh dear, Clumsy's fallen into a trap," he exclaimed, pointing to the pit where Clumsy was stuck. Quickly, the Smurfs joined forces, each using their unique skills to save their fellow Smurf. Handy Smurf fetched a rope, while Brainy Smurf calculated the best way to safely pull Clumsy out. Chef Smurf, planning ahead, gathered all the Smurfs to form a strong line and hold steady as they tugged the rope. Together, the Smurfs worked as a team, pulling and tugging until Clumsy was lifted safely from the trap. "Thank you, everyone," Clumsy beamed, brushing the dirt off his clothes. "I shouldn't have been so careless." The Smurfs all laughed with relief, happy that Clumsy was safe and sound. But Papa Smurf reminded them, "Let's stay vigilant. Gargamel's traps can be tricky, but when we work together, we can overcome anything." With a renewed sense of teamwork, the Smurfs carried on with their berry gathering, making sure to keep an eye out for each other. Meanwhile, Gargamel, watching from afar and fuming at his failed plan, stomped back into the forest, already plotting his next scheme against the happy and united Smurfs. In the enchanted forest where the Smurfs lived, a peculiar problem arose. Clumsy, the ever-helpless Smurf, had managed to get himself stuck at the top of a towering tree during one of his notorious misadventures. The other Smurfs gathered around the tree, scratching their heads and arguing about the best way to rescue him. "We should just knock the tree down," suggested Do It Fast Hefty. "No, no, no. That's too dangerous," exclaimed cautious Brainy. They went round in circles, each Smurf wanting to do it their own way, until big-hearted Papa Smurf reminded them of his wise words: "Work together." With renewed focus, Handy took charge, using his inventor's skills to quickly build a pulley system. Hefty, with his mighty arms, tightened the rope around the pulley and stood ready to pull Clumsy to safety. Meanwhile, Brainy, with his sharp mind, guided Hefty with precise directions to ensure Clumsy would not get hurt. As they worked together, they managed to save Clumsy just in time before a sudden gust of wind could topple him from his precarious perch. The Smurfs cheered, patting each other on their backs and celebrating their success. From that day on, they learned an invaluable lesson. While foolish fights might serve their enemies, it is teamwork and unity that kept them safe and strong. Working together, they could overcome any challenge, no matter how big or how clumsy. And the enchanting forest continued to echo with the joyous laughter of the Smurfs, united as one.